Okay, guys, EMPHORY, practice number 8. Everything is feedback. Everything is feedback. Everything is feedback. Because what feedback have you guys already gotten? What the fuck is she doing? Why is she saying it like that? She doesn't have a very good voice. How long is she going to hold that note? Oh my gosh, look how amazing Lori can hold her breath and make noise come out of her mouth. Like whatever that was, even that, you guys, is feedback. Because what it allows you to do is have awareness of what you think, right? I love that 2 weeks ago when Crystal was like, man, this bitch, she triggered me so hard. Feedback, it's all just feedback. None of it is real, none of it is not real. It doesn't mean anything. I think I've said this before. I love the book of Ecclesiastes. And one of the things it says is everything is meaningless, which means the fact that I said everything is feedback, the way that I said everything was feedback, the way that I said it one way at one time and another way at another time, doesn't mean anything. However, our humans are always seeking meaning. And so it tried to answer the question, why is Lori doing it like that? Why is Lori saying it like that? Why is Lori being such a wackadoo? What's Lori on that she's stinging the practice for today? Like, whatever it was that came up, it's feedback for you to see what kind of meaning you're looking for. That you're looking for meaning. It tells you, am I present? Am I not present? What do I think this means? What do I think it doesn't mean? Yeah? It's so cool. Everything is feedback. Everything is feedback. Everything is guys, do you know what everything means? Everything. All the things. Every means every and all the things. Everything is feedback. Not some things are feedback. Not feedback if it triggers me. Not feedback if I can process it. Not feedback if I like it. Not, no. Every, everything. Everything is feedback. Even if there is no feedback, it's the feedback that you're not seeking meaning in any of the feedback and that you're just present, which is, guess what? Yeah, say it with me, feedback. So if everything is just feedback, data, how much could we actually let go of the meaning that we give said feedback? Yeah? What, guys, I'm just going to ask you a quick question. Are you ready? Hold on. Look me in my left eye. What if we could actually be that free? Because guess what Jesus said? That he came to set the captives free. What if the only place we're captive? What if the only place that we're captive is actually inside our brain, our heart, and our nervous system? And what if we actually believed what Jesus said when he said that he came to set us free? So the fact that he came is the invitation to receive said freedom. And now all the data that we receive is just the indicator. Am I living that free? Do I believe that that's true? And then we navigate. Yeah. Groovy, right? All right. Y'all ready to thump some Bible? Proverbs 12:15. The way of fools seems right to them, but the wise listen to advice. What if the advice was everything? Guys, what if it wasn't like, well, Jamie told me that I should sit and reflect on how I feel. Well, Lori told me that I should seek a shaman to exorcise my demons. Well, Catherine said I should read this book. What if everything is advice from the perspective of just being aware that it's feedback and then deciding what do I want to do with that feedback and how do I want to navigate it? Guys, remember Bridget and my's greatest desire for you guys, apart from knowing a greater depth of being loved. That's just the given. We want you to know how loved you are. What we want you to take away from this is a greater capacity to utilize your own discernment. I don't want you to believe what I believe. Bridget doesn't want you to believe what Bridget believes. We want you to believe that you have the discernment to know for yourself what is profitable and beneficial to you in this moment. Yes? So a fool says, you don't know what you're talking about. A fool says, well, I don't agree with you. A fool says, you're wrong because I'm right. That's what a fool says and does. The wise say, man, if everything is feedback, I'm going to listen to what's going on around me and see how my body responds to it. I don't want to be a fool. Proverbs 12:1. Whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but whoever hates correction is stupid. Now, I want to break this down a little bit. Thank you, Nicole, for enjoying and experiencing me as I utilize these words with different tones and inflections. Okay, the word stupid actually means unaware. Okay, it's not like you're stupid, you're uneducated, you can't read, you can't math, you can't. It's not that, it's unaware. It's unaware. Okay, so God's not going, you're stupid. He's saying you're unaware. You're not allowing yourself to be aware. Okay. And the knowing is not cognitive intellectual knowledge. Okay. Whoever loves discipline loves knowledge. It's the knowing in your body. It's not cognitive knowledge. It's not Bridget has blonde hair and Catherine has curly hair. That's knowledge. What this is talking about, love's knowledge, is the knowing, the how a man and a woman know each other. It's the inception of an idea into your being, not a cognitive informational top idea. Yes? So whoever loves discipline. Now, what does this mean by discipline? Let's talk a little bit about how we've been programmed to believe that God disciplines us or punishes us when we are not obedient. I have a very, very sophisticated way of communicating what I think about that. Are you ready? Now, maybe in our immaturity, that made sense. When we got spanked, it was punishment. When we got sent to our room, it was punishment. When we got put on restriction, it was punishment. When we had to eat our vegetables, it was punishment. When our parents sent us to be away from our friends, it was punishment, right? It may seem like what God is doing is punishing us for our disobedience. But in reality, what it is just the natural consequence of not understanding the way that God thinks. That's all it is. Does it hurt? Yeah. Separation from your source hurts. Separation from your deepest knowing that you're love hurts. It feels like a punishment. But discipline really is the correction for our human body to recognize the pain so it wakes us up. It says, pay attention. Do you feel that? It doesn't feel good. But it has to not feel good, so you pay attention, so you wake up from your slumber, from your drifting. Guys, we're only motivated by two things: pleasure and pain. But until we really believe it could be that good because we're that loved, pain is the only way for God to get our attention. Pain is the only way for the universe to communicate to us a consequence that wakes us up and makes us pay attention. Yes? So the discipline, the uncomfortable, the suffering, like Tracy was saying, the contrast is to wake us up and get us to pay attention. And when we adhere, when we stop and go, hey, I'm going to pay attention to that, I'm going to recognize that this is feedback for me, not to me, for me. Now I embody the experience of this feedback, and now I become wise. Yes? Wise being what? Smart? No. Wise being what? Right? Stupid is aware. Wise, or stupid is unaware. Wise being aware, not just aware of the circumstances and situations, but aware of who I am as the one who has the capacity to navigate said thing. That is discernment. Because if I have awareness without knowing my power, it's actually not discernment because I can't do anything with it. Yes. So the discernment is where awareness and my power meet because now I can navigate it. Now I can do something about it. Yeah. Good stuff. All right. And guys, Proverbs written by the same dude that wrote Ecclesiastes. And Proverbs is all about how not to be a fool and how to be wise. In fact, I think at the very beginning, it talks about like, hey, don't do these things, be like a tree planted by the water, meditate on the law of the Lord day and night, and everything you do will prosper. How to be a discerning, wise human, what to do, what not to do. Okay. So, of course, there's a lot of Proverbs today. Proverbs 27:17. As iron sharpens iron, so a person sharpens another. Again, a couple weeks ago, Crystal gave a great example of that. I asked Lori a question. She triggered the fuck out of me. I sharpened that shit up. Yeah. Right? God used me being me, giving my opinion to a question to sharpen Crystal. Now, in what way? Maybe Crystal says whatever Lori believes in this subject is not what I believe. And I am so much sharper and clearer and more certain of what I believe based on the fact that Lori triggered me. Has nothing to do with me, guys. Has nothing to do with me. Right? It might be that maybe I tell Tracy something, it triggers the fuck out of her, but then she comes back around and says, "Oh man, I see how I was allowing myself to be a fool because it seemed right to me. But now that Lori said that, triggered me. I didn't make it about Lori or being triggered. I received it as simply feedback. I went to my ability to discern and I asked God, what am I supposed to take from this?" And God said, actually, Lori has a wider perspective that you didn't have before this moment. So maybe soak it in. For Crystal, it might be, no, Lori has a perspective that isn't yours in this incarnation, Crystal. Don't listen to a word she says in this topic and area. And Crystal says, sweet, I now know how to be a better Crystal. Tracy knows how to be a better Tracy. Yeah? You guys get this? It's not about what I said. It's not about my opinion. The feedback is the tool itself. How is my nervous system, my heart, and my brain responding to said information from outside of me? Yeah. And when we allow iron to sharpen iron, like one person sharpens another, now I don't have to be offended by anything anybody does or says because now I'm just looking at it as feedback. I'm not offended because it's really not about them and what they're saying. It's a gift to me to be sharpened. Yeah. Matthew 7:16. By their fruit you will recognize them. Do people pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Now, there's a whole lot more context behind that. Okay. But the point I want you guys to really get from this is you can look at the fruit of people's lives and recognize the feedback that maybe you're like, man, I don't see that fruit in my life. I I want that fruit in my life. And now you're utilizing what fruit you see on someone else as something you might desire. Now, again, if everything is feedback and it's just data, you could tell the story, well, Nicole has that, but I don't. Nicole was just gifted with something and I wasn't. Well, Nicole's lucky and I'm not. Just a story. Just a story that you're infusing into the data. Nicole has fruit that I desire. Now, I don't, I don't, I don't uh, see what is right in my own eyes and go, well, Nicole has it and I don't. But I listen to the advice of, I see the fruit in Nicole. My body desires that fruit. Now, I don't think I'm right in my story. I utilize the feedback as data and I go, I really want that fruit. And then I go to the Lord and I say, okay, how do I begin to produce that fruit in my life? What advice do I need to hear in order for me to be woken up and aware of the adjustments that I get to make in my life that will allow that fruit to be produced for myself as well? It's just feedback. Nicole has fruit, I want it. It's not Nicole has fruit and I get to be jealous or envious or go, hey, Bridget, did you see Nicole's fruit? What? I get to look at Nicole's fruit and say, yeah, I'll have some of that. Humbling myself to say, yeah, she has some fruit I don't have. And that's okay because that's not about me, it's about my programs. I just didn't get programmed with the ability to produce that fruit. So how do I then become aware of my programs, make adjustments, be loved, know that there's nothing wrong with me, so that if I desire to produce that fruit, I can give it the soil needed for God to do what God's going to do to produce that fruit. Yeah. Hebrews. Hebrews is another one. I really, really like Hebrews. Hebrews 12:11. No discipline seems pleasant at the time. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, you guys, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. No, it doesn't feel good. It's super painful to me to look at Nicole and say, man, Nicole has some fruit in her life that I don't have. Man, people really enjoy spending time with Nicole and they don't enjoy spending time with me. Man, somebody hires Bridget all the time and they're not hiring me. That could be really painful. If I, however, start asking the question, what adjustments do I get to make in my life based on this feedback that allow me to what? Produce a harvest of the fruit that I desire. It doesn't say, oh, you might get an apple here and there. The book, the book that is what we stand on as truth doesn't say, here, you'll get a fruit here and there. It says that it produces a harvest of righteousness. A harvest. Guys, a harvest can feed an entire city. But it starts with enduring the pain that the feedback might produce for us to reveal to us that, man, I'm stuck in thinking that my way is the right way. But I don't want to be stupid. I want to be aware. So I'm going to listen to the advice that the feedback is telling me so that then I can be mindful, so that then I can be prayerful, so that then by the law of God working in me in my humility and my ability to receive his love produces a harvest of righteousness and peace. I'll have some of that. I want a righteousness of, or a harvest of righteousness and peace. Might be painful, might suck ass, might be super humbling. But what do you want more? Do you want the harvest or do you want to be right? Do you want the harvest or do you want to be right? Do you want the harvest or do you want to be right? Did you want the harvest of peace or do you want to be right in your own eyes? Feedback allows us to navigate that. Proverbs 3:11 and 12. My son, do not despise the Lord's discipline. Now, remember, for us in EMPHORY, one of the really cool things that we get to do is substitute the word Lord for law. Do not despise the law's discipline, which means it doesn't matter if you're nice and it doesn't matter if you're sweet and it doesn't matter if you're super helpful. If your energy is not aligned, you do not reap the fruit, period. You can't fake the fruit. There's a verse somewhere in the Bible that says, don't be fooled that you can, or don't be deceived that you can fool God. He's one that can't be fooled. You can't fool the law. You can't pull the wool over the law's eyes. There's been a couple things over the last few days that I'm like, oh my God, 15 years of what I've been teaching. Finally, I get it. I finally see some of the things that I've been teaching for 15 years, they're actually true. But guess what, you guys? I didn't produce the fruit of it being true in my life. Why? Well, because it wasn't true. I didn't have the knowing yet. I had the cognitive knowing, but I didn't have the knowing yet. Therefore, it couldn't produce because the Bible says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so he is. I manifest from my heart. My heart is where my knowing is. Yes? My son, do not despise the law's discipline and do not resent its rebuke, because the law disciplines those it loves, just like a father, or as a father, the son he delights in. God delights in me, and God wants more for me than I want for myself, which represents itself in the universe will never give me what is not in alignment with my soul, because that would not be kind. So the pain, the humiliation, the coming to Jesus, it's all the gift that we need at any given time to show us where we're out of alignment, so that we can be in alignment, so we can produce that peace that we so desperately desire. Yeah? So when the rebuke comes, when the pain comes, when you get hit with the 2x4, when life doesn't look the way you want it to, recognize your soul desires the peace more than being right. Your soul desires the peace more than the money. Your soul desires the peace more than the convenience. Your soul desires the peace more than the comfort. We talked about this in group this morning. The soul will always win. You can fight as much as you want to fight against what your soul came to the planet to do, but your soul will always win. So you might as well just surrender. What if God actually loves you so much that he would allow you to go through that kind of pain because he knows what it produces in the end, even when you don't? And what if he loves you so much, he's willing for you to have a false perception of who he is, just to prove to you who he really is? And that is one that delights in you, adores and loves you. I mean, just what if? Who knows? I could be a big fat liar. I'm just throwing that out there. 1 Thessalonians 5:21. Test everything. Guys, if everything is feedback and everything means everything, what do we test? Everything. How? Against what I think is right. And now we come back full circle to the way of a fool seems right to them. So test it. Test it. Test everything. Hold on to what is good. Now, listen to me well. For those of us who have been programmed in the church, let's just pretend like we were programmed that, and I'm just going to throw a real simple one out there, that alcohol is bad. Let's just pretend like we were programmed that alcohol is bad. And then we say, test everything and hold on to what is good. That means we shouldn't have alcohol. That's not what the book says. The book says everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial. Well, what's beneficial to me right now in this moment? Right? I can say something and Crystal can go, nope, that's not for me. I'm going to test that for me with my own personal discernment. That's not good for me in this moment. I'm going to let it go. And Tracy says, man, that's so good for me. I'm going to hang on to that. It doesn't matter what I say, guys, because my words are just your personal feedback. Because why? Is it number 6? Everything is relative to me. Which one, Bridget, is everything is relative to me? 5. 5. Everything is relative to me. Everything is relative to Crystal. For Crystal. So test everything according to Crystal. Test everything according to Tracy. Test everything according to the soul that is inside of Nicole. Test everything according to the discernment between God and Bridget. Test everything according to the nervous system and the response inside of Jamie in relationship to why Jamie came to the planet. Test everything according to what Lori believes to be true or what Lori knows to be true according to her relationship in this moment and her state of consciousness in relationship to her creator. Discernment is yours. Everything is feedback, and simultaneously, everything is relative to you. Which is why the book also says, work out your own salvation. And guess what we like to say in this container? Mind your own. Mind your own fucking business. Don't worry about what someone else is doing or what triggers them or what they say is good or right or whatever. Hold on to what is good for you in this present moment because tomorrow it might not be good for you. Test everything. Now, again, we've talked about this. I'm not talking about being hyper vigilant and run around and go, oh, should I eat this celery? Oh, should I eat this? Should I take a second bite of celery? Oh, should maybe that's where you start. Maybe you have to ask every single bite of your food, do I take another bite? But that's not the long-term goal. That's too much work. We were created for ease. I mean, we were created for a lot of work too. However, the desire is to have the ease of being in flow, right? So we don't stay in that place of hypervigilance, but we get so good at testing everything and holding on to what is good that it's not like we have to be hypervigilant anymore. We just naturally discern and navigate, discern and navigate. The process becomes more easeful. Discern and navigate. But guys, we test everything because what is everything? Feedback. Everything is feedback. Test it all. Is this for me? Is this not for me? How did that make me feel? Did I want to punch Lori in the face? And again, you guys, we talk about this in the coaching container all the time. If you don't want to punch me in the face every once in a while, I'm not doing my job. Like, I came to disrupt that shit. I came to unearth those beliefs that are no longer serving you. So I'm not saying don't ever hope you don't punch Lori in the face. Contraire. If you don't hate me sometimes and want to punch me in the face, stop coming to me. Stop playing with me. Get out of this container. Because it means I'm not loving you enough to unearth those things that might feel like discipline or punishment or rebuke or whatever. I love you enough that I don't care if you like me because I know what produces on the other side of me just being me, letting the feedback be the feedback, you taking it to God and deciding for you what's good that you want to hold on to. And I'd just be over here minding my own business, being me. Everything's feedback. What do you want to do with that? That was a good one, you guys. It didn't get me fired up at all or anything. I don't get excited about this at all, you guys. Can you tell? Okay, let me stop the recording.